though all of that's available, most people don't get a GED because it's difficult. It's not easy. And then you fail the test, you have to wait to take it again, and then you say, the hell with it. I'm not gonna fool with it. So you're stunted as far as I'm concerned. You're not going to grow. So I feel compelled to tell people my story, but I don't think that it was the right thing. I think staying in school is the way through the education system. You know, I know there are people who will tell you that I got a high school GED and I went on to get my abba-dabba-dabba. You know, fine. Most people don't. Right. You know, so that's my little pitch about staying in school. Like my father used to say, do what I say do, don't do what I do. You know, so I think education is real important. What was your question? And I interrupted you.
I was asking if you could tell us a little bit more about what you did there.
Oh, okay, all right. That's what it was. My activism in the Air Force. I was stationed in Oklahoma, Enid, Oklahoma, and it was the fifth largest city in the state at the time, but it was very segregated. Black folk couldn't go to the movies downtown. They had to ride in the back of the bus. Education system was good because the teachers were black teachers, and all the teachers were well educated. You know, for me, that's one of the bad things about desegregation. All these great teachers lost jobs. You know, so with integration, they were moved into systems that they weren't welcome in, and it just wasn't a good situation, I think. But in the black schools, you had the cream of the crop teaching your kids. On the base, they used to have a dance on the weekend, and they never brought any black girls to the dance. Always white girls to the dance. You know, so that wasn't very welcoming to the black military folk. So we started protesting against that, and nothing changed. So we decided that at a dance on a given signal, we would all go and ask white girls to dance. That pissed them off. Then we began to have conversations about getting black girls to the dances. We went to a YMCA, and they started bringing girls, black girls to dances, and one of the colleges bringing girls to dances. We had an award on the base that they give away, Airman of the Month. And part of receiving that award is going to having lunch at a restaurant downtown and being celebrated, with this honor. Well, there was a black airman that got the award, and when he went to the restaurant, they made him go in the back door. So we were outraged, black folk on the base, so we decided we're going to protest this. And we decided that we were going to go in, and at that restaurant, we weren't going to go in the restaurant, but we knew we'd get turned away. But we'd go there, they'd say you can't go in, and we just train up people going in. Shortly after that, after we planned that, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And we got a call from somewhere that told us that we should postpone that activity. So it never happened, but it brought attention again to the fact that these injustices did exist. And I was called in, do you know what this could have caused, all the problems? I said, what about the problem it caused for that youngster who had to go in the back door? So those were issues that I became involved around, promotions for blacks. We had a lot of problems with that. So when I was in Germany, we formed a group of black airmen and airwomen in an attempt to address those kinds of issues. So And I've always felt that as I went up in the ranks, I had to go back and work with the youngsters that were coming in, that were bitter like I was when I came in, and not to try to put out that bitterness, but to help them channel it so that they can make the most out of their time in the military. And I always enjoyed doing that. I was in missiles for the last 10 years. I was in the service, highly technical job, and I ran a missile shop. But because of my rank, I knew that the youngsters would kind of isolate. You know, they kind of keep me at arm's length. And NCOs were supposed to eat in a certain part of the dining room. Well, I always wore a raincoat, so nobody knew what my rank was. And then by the time they found out that I was a lifer, you know, it was too late because we knew each other and we had relationships. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that I thought were important. You know, helping youngsters coming in just get past all this craziness. And I did that up until the time that I got out. So they were kind of glad for me to leave, you know, the powers that be, because I wore a beard, you know, and they didn't like that. But I had a medical excuse. You know, for black folks, we have ingrowing hairs, and they call that pseudofolliculitis barbae, ingrowing hairs. It's a medical condition that causes the pimples, and then when you shave, you cut them, so you always have sores on your face. And they allowed you to wear a short beard. But I don't think they expected that an NCO would do it. You know, I should go through all of the pain and suffering associated with shaving. But I wore a beard. You know, they didn't like that. So they would always want to make sure that my beard was a quarter of an inch long. No problem, quarter inch long. And I wasn't stuck. I thought appearance was important, but I also thought the quality of the work you do is also important. So, you know, you're trying to marry those two things together. You know, a lot of the white guys at the time want to wear long hair. Well, you can't wear long hair in the military. But what I would tell them was, the youngsters that work for me was, you know what the regulations are. I'm not going to tell you, unless I'm ordered to, that you need to cut your hair. But when that time comes, I don't want no lip. You know, get your hair cut. What I would do if I were you, and I tell them, there was a product called Dippity Doo. It was like a gel. And I tell them, you know, when you go to bed at night, put the Dippity Doo in your hair, put a rag around your head, and it will stay close to your head. You know, trim it so that it's not down on your neck. You know, come up with a style that will allow you to do that, and you shouldn't have any problems. So the guys that did that didn't have any problem. You know, I had a huge afro, but I used the stuff in a cap to keep it close to my head. So when I was working, I was in the regulations, but when I was off work, man, where did you get, that must be a wig. No, this is me. You know, so, and it wasn't an effort to get around the system, it was an effort to be in the system, to be in the military, to get whatever benefits you could from it. And if you only want to stay 4 years, to get out, you know. But make the most out of what you got when you're in. And I didn't do that. I was very rebellious when I went in the service. When I was going to Lackland Air Force Base from New York, we had a layover in Atlanta, Georgia. And we decided to go into the restaurant. There were two other black guys that in the same time I did. We decided to go into the restaurant and get something to eat. Well, in the airport, there weren't very many people in there. And we got a table in like the middle of the airport, in the middle of the restaurant. So they come out to the table to get our order, and then they bring screens to put around the table so that people on the outside can't see us. Well, the other two guys were older than I was, but I was outraged. I was incensed. You know, I was raising hate. I was cursing. I was mad. I'm in the military. I'm going to fight for my country, and you do this to me. And it went on. I talked so loud and so long that my voice was hoarse. And they brought some guy from the kitchen out, a black guy from the kitchen. And I guess I must have been ready to just shut up, because he said, man, you don't want to have these folks watching you eat. And that allowed me to just gracefully, lower my tone. And we ended up eating. And the two guys that I was with, they left. They just weren't going to have any part of it. And the guy found out what time my airplane was going to leave, because I missed the flight that I was on. And he said that he was going to take me down to Atlanta. And he took me down to a pool hall and hung out there. And some folks came in to talk to me. And to this day, and this was right after Rosa Parks also, and to this day, I often wonder who those people were, because a lot of them were religious people, but community people also. Who were those folks that came in to talk to me? Because I think they thought that I was sent down there to do this demonstration, but I wasn't. And, they asked me some questions. I guess I didn't have the right answers. And they left. But later on in my life, I almost thought about getting hypnotized to see if I couldn't remember who those people were. But, those are the kinds of things that we put up with in the military. At the time that I went in, black folks weren't getting promoted. It was not unusual to have somebody get retire, a black person get retired with 3 stripes. So I don't know how much that I changed, but I felt good about it. People used to tell me, well, if you don't like it, stay in and change it. And that was permission to be an activist. The folks that told me that gave me permission to continue doing what I was doing. So it was, and that's what I did up until the day I got out.
Okay. Now, looking back at your whole life story, is there one thing that you would want to change about it?
About my life?
Yes.
I think, again, I talk about, there are 2 things. Because I was such a screw-up when I went in the service, I didn't make rank very fast. So I wasted those years. I was always good at the job. And that's probably why I didn't get kicked out, because I loved the job. For the first 10 years I was in communications, I worked on airborne radios and loved the job, was very good at it. So that's a regret. The other one was, I think, and I'm not sure because we talked about this by quitting school. I don't want anybody to ever take my story and use that as a basis for them to change their life. Because I think that was probably something that I shouldn't have done. I should have stayed in school and got a degree or a diploma, rather than quit. But that's one of the things. Those are 2 things. Other than that, I can't think of one thing that I would change. One other thing that I could change. I enjoy my life. I enjoy waking up in the morning. Enjoy being able to look in the mirror and decide what I'm going to do, or whether I'm going to do something. I just love it. And people say, well, you retired, but every time I see you, you're out doing something. Well, it's a choice. I don't have to.
Right.
And that's what I tell people. I enjoy the things I do. I'm on the board of directors of Head Start. I volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. One of my hobbies is building model cars. So I work with boys and girls at the Boys and Girls Club building model cars. I've been doing that for about 12 years, 13 years. Love it. I work with men and women on parole and probation. Love that. I'm a history buff. I like to get people to find out what their history is, who their parents are, who their grandparents are. To me, it's important that you know your history, whoever you are, because your history is the basis for who you are.